Story time of why I divorced my Chinese husband, which obviously led to me living here in China now. Do it as quickly as I can, but I need to start at the beginning, you know. Not a long story, like we weren't together very long. So in 2023, I had what might be considered my early midlife crisis, and I decided that I got out of a long-term relationship, and I decided that I actually hadn't seen enough of the world, and I just really wanted to go to China and travel for a while because I hadn't been, and it had always been on my bucket list. Anyway, I started learning Chinese, and I met some friends kind of to exchange language with online, and he was one of them. So when I came to China, we met in person, and at the beginning things were really good. We traveled together for a while, and we, you know, established a relationship. I decided after that I really enjoyed China, and it wasn't really related to him. I just really needed a break to do something different for a while. I wanted to take a career break. So I ended up applying for a sabbatical for a year, and I thought I'll come out here and I'll work. So I applied for a job, packed up my house, arranged for my dog to come with me, moved to China in January 2024. Because I knew him and I didn't have much experience with this, I just kind of followed his, I just thought I would come and join him where he lived. I came to a city, and we ended up living in a small city called Wenling, which is in the Zhejiang province. And really quickly, I could tell you that things were not good. And we argued a lot in those first few weeks. I can't even remember what most of those arguments were about now. I remember I would sleep on the sofa, or he would go outside and not come home, he would refuse to talk to me, these kind of things. But it had this kind of intermittent reward loop of sometimes he was really nice, and then other times he was really angry over the most innocuous of things. My dog was molting a lot, you know, these kind of things. I just felt like I was walking on eggshells. So at the kind of towards the end of January, we moved to a bigger apartment because we had my dog, and it just made sense. And I was so exhausted. I don't know why I was so tired. Everything was around his schedule, when he wanted to do it, when he was ready. And we ended up not actually moving stuff over to the new apartment until maybe 10 p.m. I remember I just wanted to sleep and leave everything and do it the next day, but he kept telling me that we just needed to get it done now. And we got into a bit of an argument about it because I was that's really not very considerate of how I feel. And then he said that he thought I was a horrible person. Start as you mean to go on. This was the first time he told me he wanted to break up with me. And I remember because I was really scared. I'd been in China for 3 weeks at this point. I was really scared, and I was crying, and I was like, oh my God, please don't break up with me. The next morning when I woke up, I thought something's not right. I haven't had my period for I'm really tired. So I took a pregnancy test, and so this is part 2 of why I divorced my Chinese husband. Obviously in the last part I left off, I just found out I was pregnant. So things were stable for a few weeks after that. We went to scans, and then we went back to his hometown for Spring Festival, and that's when things started to get very tricky. I was in my first trimester, and I was really sick all the time. I could barely move without feeling sick. I just wanted to sleep or lay down or sit down or not do anything too strenuous. But that started to cause a lot of friction. I was told constantly that I'm not helping enough around the house with household chores. I needed to go out, visit family members, be more present, be more engaged, go to events, visit the ancestors' graves and burn paper. I respect all these cultural traditions, but every time I moved, I felt like I was going to throw up. But I was told I wasn't good enough, and it wasn't good enough, and I was given a really bad impression to people. Around this time, he started going out most nights. I don't know doing what, playing video games or anything. He wouldn't tell me. He would just go out. I wouldn't even know because he wouldn't be talking to me. Most of the time he did not want to talk to me. I was spending a lot of time alone. I started to feel really isolated in this small hometown. He would come home every night at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. He'd come home smelling of cigarettes, and you know when you're pregnant, your sense of smell is really strong, and I would say, you smell of cigarettes, have you been smoking? Just a question. He would get so angry with me, and he would be like, you can't ask me that, why do you always doubt me, you never believe me? And then I would be the one that ends up apologising, even though I can clearly smell cigarettes. Because I was pregnant, we did get married legally without a ceremony, but even up until then, he would say to me he didn't want to marry me, it's only because I'm pregnant, he thinks I'm a horrible person, he really doesn't want to. But then he would also, this is a really difficult part, because sometimes these, he was really sweet and really kind and helpful, but then, he would say, I don't know how to explain it, you know? If someone was like this all the time, then that would be different, but there were other times when he was okay, you know? We got married in February 2024. After we got married, things were a little easier for a while. Things were smooth. And then things started to get worse over time. Like he started going out more, started playing on his phone more, started not spending any time with me, leaving me alone. Getting out, I felt like I couldn't do anything right. Like we had several massive arguments, and they would result in him going out for most of the evening, coming back, me having to beg him to talk to me, to engage with me. And then things would be sweet for a few days, and then there would be another argument. This was always the pattern: sweet for a few days, and then there'd be another huge argument. One of the big ones that I remember was we started making videos for Chinese social media. But by then I was about 5 months pregnant, and I was working 40 hours a week still. I still felt quite tired, and he wanted me to record videos on my day off. So one day in June, why I divorced my Chinese husband, part 3. So by the time I was about 5 months pregnant, things had become incredibly unstable between us. As I mentioned in part 2, we had this big argument in a shopping centre. I was exhausted and hungry. We were recording videos for Douyin, and I said I wanted to eat. Like it had been like 5 or 6 hours since I'd eaten. He got angry and then started arguing with me in the middle of the shopping mall. He then dragged me to a restaurant where we sat down, and then he refused to eat. Let's just go home. Like, what's the point? And I got up to leave. And we continued to argue, and then he got in the elevator faster than me because I was pregnant, and the elevator doors closed, and I was left in the shopping mall whilst he went all the way down to the basement. I thought he'd be waiting for me in the car, so I was like giving him a call, trying to get hold of him, and he wasn't answering. Turns out he'd actually driven all the way home, so I walked home in the rain. I didn't have an umbrella. I had to go buy one. I was 5 months pregnant. I walked home for 40 minutes. There's some really horrible things to me in message actually that day. And then when I got home, he said he wanted to leave me. I was terrified. I was alone in a foreign country. I was pregnant. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I begged him like not to leave me, and eventually like he agreed. Every time you beg someone like this, your kind of self-esteem and self-respect goes down, right? And his behaviour just kept getting worse, you know? He would stay up later and later playing games. He would disappear for hours, not telling me where he went. And anything I said seemed to get misinterpreted. I felt like I constantly had to manage his mood to keep the peace. He also started insulting me like a lot. He would call me stupid. He would say I didn't understand things. He would say that I hadn't learned enough Chinese, but he would never let me learn Chinese. One time I got a really bad cold and sinus infection when I was pregnant, and I ended up taking just one sick day from work, and he ignored me for 3 days after that because he said I should have gone to work. When I was about 8 months pregnant, we had another really bad argument. I can't even remember what it was. There were so many. But he left me crying alone in bed all night. You know, when you're pregnant, you're so emotional as well. Looking back now, I realised that I spent most of my time trying to appease him and thinking it was my fault. I didn't tell my mum what was happening, and I was scared to leave. I didn't want to give up on the relationship now, so I stayed. And then my son was born, and things really didn't get better after that. In fact, it got a lot worse. You know, relationships like this, people always say you should just leave. Like, why didn't you just leave? But sometimes things really aren't as clear as that. When you're being emotionally and psychologically manipulated like this, you know, it's very difficult. It takes a boiling point, and that did happen. The week I left my Chinese husband was the worst week of my life. After my son was born, things got much worse. He was never around. I was always taking care of my son by myself. I was post C-section, taking care of a child alone. Like, my wrists were hurting because like my stomach was still recovering. We had so many arguments. I found him watching porn a lot, on some dating apps, you know, these kind of things. I felt like I had no say in anything to do with my son anymore. Anyway, one day came a really big argument. He wanted me to start doing more stuff on social media, so he often had us doing live broadcasts. One particular live broadcast he wanted us to open, he had hired a nanny to help. So he wanted the nanny to feed our son, and I said, look, I want to feed our son. Like, can we just open live broadcast a bit later so I can feed our son? And he really lost his shit with me. Like, he got so angry. And the argument just blew out of proportion so quickly, and he said that he wanted a divorce. And this was the first time, like, he must have asked me for a divorce like 7 times, and this was the first time I was like, okay, sure. I don't think he liked that though at all. So he left the house that night, and then he came back really late. I'd gone to sleep because like I was so tired, like I was barely getting any sleep taking care of my son. I felt like something was wrong. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I reached for my phone, but my phone wasn't there. So I went out and I found him scrolling through my phone. I was like, what the fuck are you doing on my phone? So I took my phone back from him. Anyway, I tried to go back to sleep, and he came in and he pulled the covers off of me. He told me that he didn't want to wait until Spring Festival to divorce me. He wanted to divorce me on Monday, drive to Hubei and divorce me immediately. And I was like, fine, whatever, let me sleep because I'm tired. He just kept going. He argued with me all night. I got no sleep. The next day, like, we just continued arguing for days. He would just argue with me over anything. He would go outside, he wouldn't come back, he'd sleep on the sofa, he'd complain, he'd argue with me all night, all day, wherever he could, he'd argue. And he wasn't helping me with our son. I still had to teach online and take care of our son at the same time. It was very, very difficult. And later that week, for the first time, things started to turn physical. I was sleep deprived for days, more than usual, even though I had a young baby. My son was like 4 months old at the time. His behavior was like crazy, erratic, irrational in my mind, like all over the place. It was truly, truly scary. I was becoming more and more scared of him every day. One day I found photos and videos on his phone of him having sex with another woman. I didn't say anything. I just recorded it and saved it to my phone, because by this point I'd already decided long ago to leave him. I'd booked a removal crew. I'd found a job in Shanghai. Anyway, that night we had a huge argument. I don't even remember what started it, but I remember he was pulling me away physically from my son, grabbing my wrist. It really hurt, trying to drag me away from him. So scared, like I was getting more and more distressed. Later on that night, when I was drinking water from a glass, we were having another quite terse conversation, and he just pushed it into my face, like really hard, and it hurt my teeth, it hurt my mouth. And I got really upset and scared. So when he took the dog out for a walk, at that point I called the police. But then he came back and I panicked and I hung up on the police. My Chinese wasn't so good at this point. He said that he's wanted me to learn Chinese, but actually he never helped me learn Chinese. I hung up on the police. But they're very good at finding your details here in China, because everything is linked to your phone number. So they were immediately able to trace it back to me. The next night, they contacted me, told them, like, please don't reach out to him. Like, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, you could really, really affect my safety. Anyway, as you expect, they ignored me and they contacted him. He called me very angry. Why did he get called by the police? Anyway, I hung up on the police, and the next night they contacted me and asked me about it, and I told them, like, please don't reach out to him. Like, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, you could really, really affect my safety. Anyway, as you expect, they ignored me and they contacted him. He called me very angry. He said that why did he get called by the police when he was at work? He answered the call in front of his student. They were accusing him of DD. And now his student doesn't want to study with him anymore because they think he's violent, blah, blah, blah. And that's all my fault. Why did I say this? Anyway, the police come around at the same point and they're talking to me. And I'm saying to them, look, you've made the situation so much worse. Like, why didn't you listen to me? Like, you really put me in danger. Like, I'm really, really scared now. And they were like, don't worry, we'll talk to him. I was like, okay. And anyway, they go and talk to him and they come back and they tell me, like, it's fine. We've told him not to get angry with you anymore. Oh, wow. That's a great cure for these kind of situations that I should tell other people. Long story short, it didn't work. And when they left, he left the house furious, and he like slammed the door in my arm and whole body as I went to follow him outside. And it really, really hurt. Like, it just slammed straight into me. He knew I was there. In my mind, I think he did it deliberately, and I caught it on camera. By this point, I was recording everything. He went that night. He didn't come back. He was so angry, and I was like, whatever. So the next day, he wasn't home, and I just thought, fine, I can just pack up all my stuff. I can go. I can get out of this house. I can take my son. I can go to Shanghai. Long story short, he come back. And he was so cold, like his eyes were empty. I'd never seen anything. I was so scared, and I was just trying to get him to go so I could pack up the stuff. He was so angry at this point that he just threw a glass. Like, he threw a glass and it smashed everywhere near me and my son, and I was terrified by this point. Luckily, I'd already arranged a bodyguard service, and the guy came immediately, and then I told him, my ex-husband, that I was leaving him. He called the police on me. So anyway, we all went to the police station, and at this point the removals guy was really, really helpful. He came with me to the police station, tried to explain as much as he could to me because he understood some English. I say this respectfully, like, they didn't really seem to want to be involved. They seemed it more as like a domestic dispute rather than something that they should be directly involved in. I wasn't able to advocate for myself because my Chinese wasn't very good then. So it was just all in all what needed to be documented, I don't think was documented at all. They did say that he couldn't stop me from leaving, so I took the child and I left for Shanghai. Anyway, he found me, he managed to find my job, and he started calling my office. He really bothered me. He found the hotel where I was staying. I had to blacklist him on everything because he was literally like calling me repeatedly. And then things opened up on Chinese social media around Douyin, and he started talking publicly. He posted a video talking about the situation. He also started commenting all over posts, and I think, because I have screenshots of it all, in a way that was quite unpleasant about me. And I never actually posted anything directly about him on Chinese social media, just here. I was not very happy, but yeah, obviously in his mind I'm the one that slandered him, and he tells me this. He occasionally gets a new number, and then I have to blacklist that as well because he just keeps harassing me. He wants to sue me at the moment. He's probably watching this video, and I only have one thing to say to him: best day I did was left you.